All right, we are live. Welcome, everyone. And this is our second weekly AMA where I will be answering questions about business strategy, marketing, and technology for free. And again, I'm doing this so I can serve more people like you. If you have anything, either pressing issues or even just curiosity or validation, or if you just want a different perspective, you came to the right place. So all the questions are submitted via the link below, which is bit.ly/RenzaGroup AMA. And for some reason, it has to be, it's case sensitive. So, and all the questions we're going to be talking about today, or we're going to be answering today, are questions gathered from here. I still couldn't get the comments thing to work on this Ecamm software. But once we figure it out, we can do a live, an actual, AMA here. I guess it depends on whether how many people show up. But since, I don't have a big audience right now, so we'll take it. We'll take the questions offline and answer it here. None of the questions are prepared. So I just gather it every Wednesday morning. But none of these are like preconceived. Just a quick disclaimer that I will do my best to answer these questions based on my previous experiences and working knowledge on these topics. And it's a starting point. Again, it's not the final, may not be a final answer to your questions, but hopefully it gives you guys, points you to the right direction. So, that said, we will dive right in the first question. First question is from Bernard. High first step conversion, low purchase rate. What's wrong? This is a very vague question. I'm assuming high first step conversion is the landing page, a low purchase rate. So I'm assuming that you get a lot of views using an ad, but low conversion rates in terms of purchase, right? And that happens a lot where your ad is compelling enough for them to click on, so it hits your landing page or the product page, whatever it is you're selling, but then they don't purchase. So that's where we figure out where your people are dropping off, or where your viewers are dropping off. So that this tells me that you have a high conversion rate. That means your ad is working. So don't do anything on your ad. Whatever your hook, your story on the ad, it's working. The problem I would think here, I would look at if you're not having any conversions or people aren't buying. They walk in the door, but they're not buying. The problem there could be your offer. So one thing to look at is that a sales page? Is it a landing page? What are they getting into, right? Where are they dropping off? And I would look at the copy. I would look at the offer. Is it compelling, or is it misaligned to the ads? Because that usually happens where you have a great ad that shows great promise, but once people get into the product page where you're asking them to take out their credit card or to give you money, they drop off. So that means either your offer is not good enough, or it's misaligned with your ad. So I would look at that. Again, without seeing a lot of the details, it's hard to pinpoint. But that should be the first. That would be if that happened to me, that'd be the first thing I'd look into. But thank you so much for that question, Bernard. Next question is, I get a lot of ads about funnel. I get lots of ads about funnels. Is this a good alternative to websites? I hear biased reviews from people who are sales funnels affiliates, and I'm looking for a non-biased information. Thank you. This question is from Jonathan. Okay, I get a lot of those ads too. I'm assuming you're getting a lot of ClickFunnels ads. Either that, or there's a new one called Drop Funnels. That's been pushing their product lately. Now, You're right. When you talk to people about funnels, you get a lot of people persuading you to do funnels because they're affiliates and they give you their affiliate link, right? So I'm going to give you a non-biased opinion. Funnels are great. There are. Your question is it a good alternative to a website? So there are certain businesses where you need websites. The point of a funnel is that you direct the viewer straight to what you want them to do. If you want them to leave their email address, you direct them there. There's not a whole lot of other options. Or you want them to buy a product or sign up for a webinar. The great thing about a funnel is it's designed to take your viewers directly to what you want them to do, to your call to action. Now, can you do it? Can you do the same thing on a website, let's say a Squarespace or WordPress? Sure, you can. A funnel is not a replacement for a website. It's just a way of you directing them what to do. Because typically a website, you go to a website and you get like 10 different options. Home, about, our services, why go for us. That's the typical sitemap for a website, right? Now for a funnel, it just says once you get in there, normally there's a video, there's a title, a description, tells you what and a sales, some kind of sales letter, and then a call to action. Buy now or register now or sign up, whatever it is. So the whole funnel is merely a concept. You can build the same way, the same thing on a website like a Squarespace or WordPress, do the same thing. I think funnels is just since it's designed for that, it just makes it super easier for you to build those funnels or sites, right? Where it's just a direct funnel. Here's who we are and here's what you need to do. So ClickFunnels or drop funnels, they work the same. Is it worth the money? It depends. Because if you're someone who is data driven, sales funnels, I'm going to talk about ClickFunnels because I'm more familiar with them. ClickFunnels are great because you can see on the funnel process, you can see where people drop off. You can see, hey, from page one to from this page to this page, I get a lot of people, and then they drop off here. It's much easier to troubleshoot why people are dropping off or why you're not converting, and it's easier to see it and then fix it, right? On a website, it's hard. You need to install a whole bunch of plugins, a whole bunch of tools, and it's not very straightforward if you want to get that data or that analytics. In that context, in that sense, I would go with ClickFunnels or a sales funnel because it just makes it a lot easier. And the point of sales funnels is to really drive sales, not just to give out information, but to get leads, get registrations, and make sales. So is it worth it? Yeah, if you want to scale, if you have the money, I think ClickFunnels is, their basic one is $97 a month. If you're like a single domain, that's good enough. If you want to have more bells and whistles, like multiple domains, if you want the automated response stuff, which is great, that's for a different conversation, but their automation is amazing. That's like $297, I think, a month. So it is a lot of money compared to WordPress that's kind of free, and Squarespace is like $20 a month. But you get a lot of functionality in creating sales funnels. Again, if your site is just for information purposes, where here's who we are, here's what we do, here's our branches, here's our menu, here's how to contact us, then sales funnels isn't for you. But if you want to drive them to sales, if you want heavy conversions, sales funnels is the way to go. That's a great question, Jonathan. Thank you. I haven't talked about funnels in a while. Next question from Henry. Should I use Pinterest, Instagram, or Facebook to grow my business? pretty vague question. The quick answer to this is based on a principle, right? Again, it's one of the frameworks that I teach. Where's your market? I don't know what you do, what you sell, or who your market is. The question here, my question for you, is where's your market hanging out? Are they mostly on Pinterest? Are they mostly on Instagram or Facebook? These have different demographics. A lot of the younger ones, I think Gen Z, not Gen Z, like millennials are more on Instagram, and the younger ones are TikTok, right? Gen Z, Gen X are more on Facebook, I think. And Pinterest is a whole different demographics. Pinterest is really more for visual people. So if let's say you're a wedding photographer, right? And this is pre-pandemic opinion. If you're a wedding photographer and your target are brides, Pinterest would be a good platform because that's where they do their vision boards or their idea boards. So it's good to leverage Pinterest to build your business, build your following. So without knowing what you do, it's hard to give you a straight answer. But what I'm going to tell you is find out who your target market is and find out where they are. If they're more on Facebook, leverage Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, wherever, right? So the key is finding out where they are, and you go. It's like fishing. You know where the blue marlins are, and that's what you want. You go to the spot where there are blue marlins. Just an idea. Okay. So thank you for your question, Henry. Oh, I forgot the time again. All right. So we'll start with, since it's 12:13, we'll start with a 45-minute clock. Next. Oh, it's a loaded question. I would like some help. How would you promote and market a brand new membership-based website? We optimize the site for SEO. I like the detail here. However, SEO will only yield organic result over time. We are offering the first month of any paid membership for free. We set up a LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter account, and a YouTube channel. We created a short YouTube video in English and French to promote our first month free promotion. We did 3 carefully crafted mass mailing campaigns to commercial real estate brokers and franchisors with no results so far. Okay. Anonymous. Thank you for the context because this helps a lot. So you want to promote a membership-based website. So SEO should not be your primary method on gaining traffic. It's good to be running. It's good to be optimized just on the side because it takes a long time to optimize SEO with Google's algorithms and stuff like that. So it's good that you have that running on the side and you understand that the results you're going to yield from SEO is done over time, not right away. So you're offering the first month of any paid membership for free. You already have a LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter account and a YouTube channel, and you have a YouTube video in 2 languages. And we'll talk about the mass mailing campaigns first or later. So you set up a LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter account, but what are you doing? How are you? Just because you have an account doesn't mean that they're just miraculously going to go to that account, right? You need to do some sort of marketing. You need to do campaigns to get in front of your market. Because even if you're offering the first month, even if you have the offer, let's say a storefront, for example, right? They have this offer, free pizza, but you're assuming that people will just wander and see your offer, right? You need to market, you need to advertise. So I would do that, right? You said you have a LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Even if you keep posting on Facebook, if you don't have a big audience, they don't know about it, right? You're only targeting, if you have 100 followers on Facebook, you're only targeting the 100 followers that are in there, if they're even interested. So something like this, where I would launch a campaign, like an ad campaign, whether Facebook and Google Ads, and those are two different approach, by the way. I will do those just to get eyeballs, get people looking at your stuff. That's one. That's separate than your last point here, which is you did 3 carefully crafted mass mailing campaigns to commercial real. So a mass mailing campaign, that's a different story, right? Now, when you're doing a mass mailing campaign, where did you get your list? Did you buy a list or is it organic? Did people sign up for something? How did you? Because those are two different things. Because if you just bought a list, then they have no idea who you are, and you're just sending them an email. Maybe the reason why there's no result is because they don't know who you are. They don't know you. They don't trust you. And people get a lot of spam nowadays. We got to look at the message of what you're writing. Does it have trigger words that put base? So with email marketing, there are certain words that you should not use on your emails or subject line, because let's say Google, for example, they know and they look at those things and they say, oh, this is a spammer, right? Especially if you have no history of communication with that person. That's the problem with buying a list, right? You're sending a message to someone who doesn't know you, so that's your first communication. And plus, depending on the word, your copy, the words that you use, you could be your message could be sitting on their spam folder, and that's why you're not getting any response. So there's a bigger conversation here on how do you word your copy if it's a cold audience. If it's a list that doesn't know you, that's a very cold audience. You got to make sure that you talk to them in such a way, right, that they're a cold audience. So now if this is a list that you've already nurturing, that you've already sent, that they're already aware of who you are, that's a whole different story. We got to look at your copy. It has to be now product focused, right, instead of a problem. So when you speak to a cold audience, it needs to be problem focused. So your subject line needs to talk about their problem, because they don't know you, but you might trigger them because, oh yeah, I have this problem that you're talking about. They might be curious and open the email. But if you're already talking about the product directly or the service, they might not respond, and most likely they don't, because they don't know you, and it's very obvious that you're peddling some kind of solution without talking about the problem first. Again, this is an 8-hour conversation if we really want to go to the nitty-gritty. Short answer is there's no short answer, because there's a lot of things we can look at. But just based on that what I rambled about, look into that. Look at your copy. Email me or send another note, whatever, and then we can figure out. Maybe I can look into your mass mailing copy and give extra pointers, because if without seeing it, it's hard to give a direct answer. All right, thank you for that question. Wow, that. Next, what is the best way to get in front of an audience of clients? From Kay. One is find out where they are and hang out there. The first step here is I think I spoke about this last week. The first step is really finding out who your ideal client is, and creating a profile on who it is. Once you have that profile, and it has to be very specific, once you have that profile, you have to find out where they are, where they're hanging out. Are they on Facebook groups? Are they on Reddit? Are they mostly on... that's a research that you have to do. And get in there. Let's say they're on certain Facebook groups, join those groups, but don't poach. You can't join Facebook groups and then sell stuff. The approach is, when if you find them on Facebook groups or wherever you find them, you have to provide value. You have to build rapport with them first. And the best way to build rapport is to provide value. So if they have questions, if they're running into problems, they would post it and they would ask, right? And that's the point of Facebook groups, is that's sort of where they collaborate and let's say, oh, I have this problem with this. What should I do? And then you answer those questions. You provide value. That's where you build rapport. Now they get more familiar of who you are, and then build a relationship from there. It's not you don't want to cast such a big net and just try to pull them and sell to them. Before you sell, you have to provide value first. That's the best way. And obviously, I'm assuming that the reason why you want to get in front of clients is you want to sell to them. I get it, but don't just sell. You have to build rapport first before you sell. So find them, find your ideal client, and find out where they hang out, and then provide some value. Those are the first three things that I would do to get in front of an audience of clients. Okay, hope that helps. Thank you for that question, Kay. Okay, what's the most painful part or parts of starting and or running your small business, Elena? Okay, this is more of I thank you for this question. It's a personal question. The most painful part or parts of starting and or running your small business. There's a lot, especially when you're starting. Lately, since I've been around the block, I think, so there's not a whole lot of pain anymore. A lot of those pains have either been addressed or kind of know how to avoid them now. But when I was starting, the most painful part was, and just to give you a little background, for the past 20 years, over 20 years, I had ideas, and then I ran with it, and then spent a lot of money trying to build it. Some of them stuck, some of them failed. A lot of them failed, actually. So the most painful part is coming up with a great idea, and then you're so passionate about it, and you're so fired up, and then you do everything. You get a business plan, put everything in place, social media accounts, and then you spend money on ads, and then it flops. That's a painful part, because especially if you have that kind of passion for an idea, and then it just fails, it doesn't sell, right? So it's very disheartening, it's very discouraging, and it gets to a point where you think of another idea, and then you second guess yourself, like, why should I even do this again? And you stop believing in yourself, and you're like, oh, I think I just deserve less. That's the worst part. I think it's the failing parts in the very beginning, early stages of being an entrepreneur. That's the most painful part, because it's, like I said, you always question yourself. But how I would add another thing to this question is how do you get over that, right? Because I think that's the most important answer. Is when you have an idea, or when you come up with a product or a service that you want to sell, and I mentioned this last week, product validation. That saves you a lot of the pain. That saves you a lot of the trouble. That saves you a lot of the money offhand, because you're not like devoting everything for something that may or may not sell. So I always suggest do a product validation. A real product validation, not just asking 3 people that like you, right? If you ask people that like you, they're like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. But if it's really not for them, it's just an idea, right? So product validation is really asking and researching if there are people who are already buying it. Because that's, again, to me, that's the most painful part, is starting something, putting 100% of your effort, and then flopping. It sucks. It's the worst feeling. So I think that just right off the top of my head, I think that's a painful process. Um, yeah, that's all I can think of. So to prevent that, product validation, and there are ways of doing that. I may do a class about that, but yeah, if you guys like what do you call this, a web class for product validation, because I think a lot of the questions have that answer, even though most people don't know that, oh, that's something that they need to do. Maybe we can do some kind of webinar. Um, Let me know in the comments if you're watching it live, or when you watch the replay. Let me know. Just type product validation, and then I could probably do a quick webinar to see how to properly do it, because a lot of people have different perception of what product validation is. Um, all right, thank you for this question. Next question is from AJ. Running an online marketing business at a relatively young age, 20 years old. Businesses don't take me seriously even though I know what I'm doing. How can I make businesses look past my age? Um, Great question. So first of all, I commend you for starting a business at 20. This it's I love it when young people like you or have that entrepreneurial spirit, business minded. Anyway, it's hard, right? I remember, before I answer this, I want to share a quick story. I remember I was in the Philippines. I was in high school at the time. I was 14 years old. I got into this thing. It's a multi-level marketing that sells. It's called a magnetizer. So what it is, it's a device. Now I think about it, it's kind of, anyway. So it's a magnetic device that you're supposed to put in your air intake. The air intake of your car just clamps on the air intake of your car and your fuel line. And supposedly what it does is it magnetizes both the air and the fuel. The positive molecules go to one side, the negative molecules go to the other side, and it's supposed to improve the flow of air and fuel and save on gas. That was the idea. And at 14 years old, I was so pumped to sell it. I would be walking after school. I would still be wearing a uniform, and after school, I would go to these bus terminals, because in the Philippines, bus terminals are privately owned. Like, buses are privately owned, so they have different bus terminals depending on what the brand or the company is. And I would talk to the bus line owners. And I was 14 years old, so no one took me seriously. But I was so adamant. I believed in the product at that time, and of course, I was doing it for the money, but nobody took me seriously because the reason, what I realized after a few months of doing it, I realized it's hard to prove the results, right? It takes time. So even if they buy it right now, they put it on their buses, it's hard to quantify the results of a bus saving gas, right? And especially if you have an entire fleet. So that's one of the reasons why I realized I wasn't taken seriously, and the fact that you have this 14-year-old kid wearing shorts, right, walking into to these, talking to these bus line owners and selling them this weird contraption. So that said, nowadays, if you want to start an online marketing business, I wouldn't worry about your age as long as you can provide results. So your you're running an online marketing business. Are you showing them the results, right? So first thing, when you approach people, for them to listen to you, you have to approach them and trigger an emotion, right? Talk to them about their problem. Let's say you want to sell to me. I'm a coach. I'm a business consultant. Talk to me about my problem, right? What do you think? What kind of problems can you solve with your online marketing? If you approach me with that subject line or that header and catch my attention, okay, I'll listen. And then you talk about how you did it with your previous clients. So I'm assuming you're already running it and you're already uh, providing results to some businesses. And if you do, use that as your case studies and present that to me. Hey, I this was the company, this was the problem, this is where they're at before they engaged with me, and then this is where they're at now, and this happened because of this product or service that I provided for them. Now I'm listening because I can see that, hey, you know what my problem is and you know how to solve it, right? So look at your marketing, look at how you present your business in front of these people, and really analyze what are they seeing when they see your website, what are they seeing when they see your sales funnel or your Facebook page. Because if you post stuff that 20-year-olds post, then maybe they get the impression that, hey, this is just a little kid, and how can he, how can you solve my problems? Again, based on the information that you provided here, start with that. Look at your message, and see and put yourselves in the shoes of the business owners that your target market, and try to imagine what they see on your message. That's the first thing, and then take it from there. And then from there you can just tweak, reiterate until, and get people's feedback too. I'd love to give you feedback. Send me an email, and I'll look at your copy or your Facebook page, whatever, and then I with that I can give you a better answer. But yeah, it's all about perception, AJ. First impressions, what they see, right? So let's look into it. Send me an email, shoot me something, and we'll take a look into that further. So I hope that helps. At least give you a direction. Next question is from Michael. I'm thinking of outsourcing my online marketing, FB, ads to an agency. Can you tell me the reasons why I shouldn't? I love the approach to your question. So you want me to talk you out of outsourcing your online marketing. The only reason why you should not outsource it is if you don't have money, because outsourcing it takes, you'll get a hit on your bottom line, right? But there's a lot of advantages in outsourcing. Money aside, right? I'm assuming you're already making some money, and I would assume that the reason why you want to outsource is time, because that's the only. I have clients that have outsourced their online marketing is because of the time it takes, but there's more reasons beyond the time issue. I can go over why, or instead of why you shouldn't, right? The only reason why you shouldn't is if you don't have money. Otherwise, do it, because the ad spend, so the money that you spend buying ads, will actually be more, how do you say it? In the long run, it'll be, it's more bang for your buck, because remember, Facebook and IG ads, it's a bidding system. So you're bidding for impressions. Yes, they are cheap, cents, right? Per or yeah, cents or a dollar, I think, for 1,000 impressions. I don't know what the rate is now, but that fluctuates because it's a bidding system. So you're competing with companies, with businesses that buy more ads, right? So let's say your budget is $5 a day. Let's just bring it up. Let's say your budget is $10 a day on ads. On those $10 a day, you'd probably be reaching, I don't know, 1,200 people on Facebook and Instagram. So for $10, I'm just going to throw a number in there for the sake of this conversation. For $10 a day on Facebook ads, let's say you're hitting 2,000 people, right? Now, if I'm a competitor that spends $1,000 a day on ads, all of a sudden I'm hitting more people because now, since I'm spending more money, Facebook gives me more impressions, right? So if Facebook charges you $1 per 1,000 impressions, since I'm spending more money, now Facebook would be charging me maybe 50 cents for 1,000 impressions. So you are competing with people that spend a lot of money on ads in terms of attention. So that $100 a day that you spend, if you outsource, if you let an agency run those ads for you, you're actually going to be getting more. So for that $100, you could be getting twice or more impressions, because as an agency they buy more, right? And most of the time the agencies will buy ads on their account, on their ad account, and not yours, because that's one of the advantages, is the ad buys are cheaper. Plus, they have custom audiences that they can use for you, and they have teams of people watching your ads every day and optimizing it and making changes, making tiny decisions for you. And they know the game, right? I dabbled on Facebook ads, and it's not something I want to do every day, because every week, if not every day, Facebook changes something and I have to adapt, and I just don't have the time. Right? And that's what most small businesses do now. They learn, you can get classes on running Facebook ads, and you can, but the results would just be different if you hire an agency. And the reason, again, it costs money, right? You pay these agencies a retainer, like a management fee per month. And on top of that, you pay them a percentage, 15 to 25% of the money that you spend on ads. So there's money involved. But if you're already scaling out, then it's so worth it, because you're gonna get much more return on your ad spend. Yeah. So I know it's not what you're asking, but you're already thinking about outsourcing it. So if you have the money, I encourage you, outsource it. And then you can free yourself from doing that. And then you can, I don't know, do other things on your business that could make, you can focus on the growth versus just ads, because ads is a full-time job, to be honest. All right. Thank you, Michael. Is cybersecurity important for a small business? Or is cybersecurity important for small businesses? How much effort should I spend on protecting myself from hackers? And this is from John. This is a great question. Not a lot of business people are conscious about cybersecurity. And the short answer is yes. Cybersecurity is important for small businesses. Most people think that, hey, why would hackers hack me? I don't have any, I'm not like Sony, or I'm not like the government where they want information, right? But it's not so much for what it is they can get from you, but it's more there are certain groups of hackers where um, they would uh, they would get into your system, they would get into your computer, however which way, and then they will lock all your files. They will encrypt all your files, and depending on how important those files for you, they will. It's called ransomware, right? And you'll get a message saying, "Hey, I have access. I have the key to the lock that we put on your files. You send us $1,000 in Bitcoin, so you can get your files back." Right? So it's not even for a lot of money. They do it for like $1,000 or $500. Uh, and a lot of businesses fall into that trap because they weren't careful. Um, so these are low level hackers that all they do is encrypt your files and then extort money from you. So even though sure it doesn't cripple your business, but it's still an annoyance, right? You have to pay. They ask you to go to the grocery store, get like an iTunes card and an Amazon card, and send me the code. That's how they extort money, right? Or they ask you to kind of like to buy Bitcoin, whatever, for ransom. So yeah, it's very disruptive, and everybody should have some sort of awareness when it comes to cybersecurity. And how much effort should I spend on protecting myself from hackers? That's hard to answer how much effort, but basic security awareness, right? How complex is your password? How long is your password? How often do you change your password? Do you use the same password on everything? And this is one of the biggest problems I've seen with a lot of people is that they use the same password for everything. Their banking, their Gmail or email, every other online service, they use the same password. And I get it, it's convenient, but it's also dangerous because once your password is compromised, they have access to everything, right? So that's just one aspect of cybersecurity is your passwords, which is the biggest one because that's how they gain access to your stuff. Social engineering, you got to be aware if somebody does a phishing attempt or somebody says, hey, your computer's infected, click here to clean it. Don't do that. So it really doesn't take a whole lot of effort to be aware of cybersecurity. It just takes some sort of cognizance, right? Remember, it's people will try to get into your system and lock it for $500, $1,000 of ransom. So it doesn't take a lot. So yeah, you have to take as much effort as you can, even though, because cybersecurity information security is very inconvenient. I get it. You take extra steps, but it's the same thing, right? Locking your door every night is an extra step. Every time you leave a house for a vacation, checking your doors and your windows, make sure they're closed. Those are extra steps, but we do it because it's necessary. But we don't do it for our businesses. So yeah, you should take every effort. Google security awareness programs. They're usually an hour, 2 hours that talk about the details on what you can do. And there are free ones out there. So yeah, take as much effort as you can because it's not a matter of if you're going to get hacked or if you're going to get malware. It's just a matter of when. One of these days, you'll fall for a really nicely crafted email that seems like it's coming from your bank. And then you click on it and then you enter your password, your credentials, and all of a sudden, boom, they have access to everything. It only takes one time. So yeah, as much effort as you can. Be aware. It's not only for big businesses or enterprise businesses. Small businesses are also now being targeted. So be careful. Thank you for this question. Okay, so we got 12 minutes and we got a whole bunch more. Oh, wow. Looks like so if we can't go through all the questions, we'll resume the some of these questions for next week. Okay, Google Ads or FB Ads, Anonymous. Or Google Ads Oh, okay. I think it's your question is Google Ads or FB Ads, right? Simple answer, both if you can. You have to understand the difference between the two ad platforms. So Facebook, along with Instagram, they're more of an interruption type ad, right? Where someone's browsing or people are browsing and then you interrupt them with your ad. So it's interrupt driven. You're interrupting people. Google, on the other hand, Google Ads is more a search ad. So I'm searching for a power drill, for example, right? And then an ad about a power drill shows up. So you see, those are two different mindset, right? I see. That means that's why I say both is because when I'm searching for whatever your product or service, you show up. That's for Google, and for Facebook, I get interrupted if I'm in the right target demographic of your ads, right? So it's not an or, it's like it's and. If you can afford both Google Ads and FB Ads, go both. But mostly what's more effective if you only had to choose one though. Okay, let's assume that you don't have a budget and you only had to choose one. Facebook, because you reach more people. You reach people that are not searching for you, right? Versus people that are searching for whatever your keyword is. Next question. I've read somewhere that it takes 10,000. I don't get it. I've read somewhere that it takes 10,000 to become an expert. Oh, 10,000 hours to become an expert on something. What's the fastest way to get my 10,000 hours? I'm 16, Andrew. Okay, I love it. Another young entrepreneur. It's true. I mean, it's not, people don't really count 10,000 hours, but it's like a rule of thumb, right? If you want to be an expert on something, it takes 10,000 hours. Whatever it is, right? Even pilots, before they can fly a commercial plane, they need to fly different planes for a certain number of hours. I don't know the number, but it's a rule of thumb. It basically just tells you that you can't be an expert if you haven't put in the time. So whatever, I don't know what you do, whatever it is that you want to be an expert on, what's the fastest way to get my 10,000 hours? Is to put more hours in a day, right? Our time each day is finite. We all have 24 hours in a day. If let's just say you're I don't know what you do, but let's just say you're a clock. Let's say you make watches. I'm looking at my watch. Let's say you make watches, right? And you want to be you want to be an expert watchmaker. You want to spend those 10,000 hours. Now we have 24 hours in a day. If you spend 4 hours per day watching, or if you spend 4 hours per day making watches, that tells me, let me run my calculator. So 10,000 hours divided by 4. That means it'll take you 2,500 days or 6.8 years to be an expert, right? So if you spend 4 hours doing your thing, it'll take you 6.7 years to be considered an expert. So you want to go there faster, then spend more time doing it per day, right? So now if you say 8 hours, so then you cut it in half, like 4 years. Now, if you have more than 8 hours per day, and let's say you do it 10 or 15 hours per day, and that's all you do, then that'll significantly cut your time, right? So it depends on how passionate you are with whatever it is that you want to be an expert on. I mean, that's a pretty straightforward mathematical answer, is just keep doing it. If it's something that you're very passionate about, just breathe it, right? Like me, in terms of problem solving, this is something that I love. And teaching, I do it as much as I can. I don't track my time, but I just keep doing. I don't even think about it. Like, I just do it, and I'm on my 20th year, so I am, because I consider myself as an expert because I've done just decades of this, doing what I do. So I hope that helps. You're 16, so you got a long way to go, but more power to you. Just, you sound like a passionate person. The fact that you found me and you found this and you're asking a question, just keep asking questions, keep being curious, and just keep learning and just do what you do, and you'll be an expert in no time. So I appreciate this question. Thank you, Andrew. 6 minutes. I noticed in one Facebook group that you keep talking about lists. I didn't want to engage, but I want to know why you insist on leads or lists, I'm assuming, when Facebook ads are super cheap. Isaac. Okay, Isaac. Thank you for stalking. Uh, yes, list is important. I know Facebook ads are cheap, but if you have a list of customers, monetize it, because even though Facebook ads are cheap, your list is free. That's free traffic, right? So remember, I spoke earlier about Facebook ads and how you pay per impression. Now, if you have a list, it's free. You send a message saying, "Hey, I want you." Okay. Um, yeah, I think I can share this. So I have a client, more of a student that I'm coaching, and they run an online store, and they have a list of about 10,000 people, right? 10,000 previous customers, and their email addresses are just sitting there. So I told him, hey, this weekend run a I didn't say this weekend, but you say, hey, send something out to your list, like give them like a 20% discount code, right? And I think I said that multiple times, and then he finally did it, and then he told me, thank you for the idea. I just made $5,000 over the weekend, just because he sent out a discount code to previous customers. So it didn't take so much effort. You sent out a broadcast to these people who already know you, who already bought from you, and it's $5,000. So that's a no-brainer, right? I mean, you can't beat that. I'm not saying do list only and not ads, but lists are powerful if you have them. If you know how to nurture them, if you know how to sell to them, and that just proves a point that if you have a list that doesn't do anything, that's just sitting, you're losing money. You're leaving money off the table because you're not monetizing it. And that's why I feel strongly about using lists. Just don't spam them. Don't send them an email every day, but even every week, or even not just having to sell something, you can even provide value to these people. Share something. Again, reminds me of that book from Gary V. Jab Jab Hook. I think that's what's the title, where before you ask, you have to provide value first, right? So every 2 emails that you send out, or every email that you send out, is something of value, and then maybe that every 3rd email, provide a discount code so they buy something, right? So utilize your list. 3 minutes, and we are. Yeah, I think I can answer one more question. This is similar to, Albert, this is similar to the question before. I'm trying to start a digital marketing agency and I plan on working with small businesses. How do I get my first client? So it's similar to the question earlier. I would say start with a bunch of free clients. Work for free. If you're starting, really starting from the bottom, work for free. Find 5 people that you can help, and don't charge them, but make sure that they let you use them as a case study. Now, once you have provided results for these people, that's when you start marketing and then showing the results that you've done for others. Because it's easier, again, it's easier to find your first client if they saw that you've already helped other people with the same problem. It's easier to gain that trust. So again, work for free. First few clients until you get a solid case study. You can prove that you've helped other people, and then get your first client, right? Find out where they are and get in front of them, however which way. If they're in Facebook groups, again, I'm going to go through it again. Facebook groups or ads or Reddit, Pinterest, wherever they are, as long as what you're going to show them is the results you've done for others, then that's where you get the first client. Nobody wants to be the first. Nobody's going to pay you if they don't know what they can get from you. And it's hard to prove, right? Because you haven't done it yet. Thank you, Albert. Last question, 1 minute. What's your favorite automation tool? From Sammy. Oh, automation. I'm glad that people are asking about automation. So I have two. One is Zapier, and second is Integromat. Given that I don't code, I can read code. I can understand if somebody writes it. I can kind of figure out what it does, but I can't write it myself. So that's why I use low-code automation tools. Zapier, which connects to pretty much any online service that you can think of. And same thing with Integromat. The Integromat is more of a low-code to a high-code solution. So you can do a lot of if you knew how to code, you can do a lot of crazy things with it. So I have a developer that I actually hire whenever I do automation for other clients. So yeah, those are my two favorite automation tools. Zapier and Integromat. That's our time for today. It's almost 1:00, but I do appreciate. I just noticed this. I appreciate the likes and the loves and the engagement. I appreciate it. So I hope we can grow this community more. Again, if you want to submit, I'll save the other questions. So there's like 5 more questions that we'll do for next week. But if you guys want to submit more questions, feel free to send it over here, bit.ly, RenzaGroup AMA, case sensitive. So I realize if it's all lowercase, it doesn't take it. But anyway, thanks again. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and this is really fun. I enjoy just answering these questions. So yeah, keep hitting me with questions, and yeah, this is a good break for me. Thanks again, and I guess I'll see you guys next week. Take care.